Welcome to Amateur Radio. Yeah. I said the good, the bad, and the ugly. First thing that you notice, the bad, is in the antenna. Yeah. As you can see, frequency range on the antenna is from 450 megahertz to 470 megahertz. In the UK, this antenna is outside the amateur radio bands, and I suspect it's also outside the amateur radio bands for most countries. So why they've got this antenna with it, I don't know. Fortunately, the connection on it is exactly the same as a Baofeng. I did upgrade the Baofeng antenna, so I've got a decent antenna that I can put on here. It's a SMA male on the radio. Hi, it's John in post. Something I forgot to mention. Across to the side of the screen, just place a little red box. I'm going to leave that running throughout the entire video. The reason this box is there is these are all the different names this radio has gone by, all the different companies that have made it. Vanguard actually advertised this one as being a 20 watt handheld. I doubt it, but let's head over to the power meter and check the levels. Okay, this first frequency is in the 145 megahertz range, and we show 4 watts. Four, 3, 3, 500, and we have just over 2 watts. Not very good. Just like all these other radios that claim seriously stupid power, this one is not capable of 20 watts. Basically, what they're doing is they're saying, well, it can transmit 5 watts here, 5 watts here, 5 watts here, and 5 watts here, and then saying, well, that totals up to 20 watts. No, not unless it's transmitting all 4 at the same time. One of the things I like, they have gone with a different voice on startup from the Baofeng that I've grown used to, but I think I prefer the male voice.
Welcome, frequency mode.
You'll notice on the screen there's a couple of scratches already. Believe it or not, they're from my fingernails. The cover screen is only to protect the inner screen, and whatever it's made out of is extremely soft, so you might want to be careful with that. One of the first things you want to do is a factory reset. So switch it on and go into your menu system and press the down arrow and press menu, down arrow again, and menu again. It'll ask you if you're sure, press the menu key, and it'll reset the radio back to factory standards. The reason you need to do that, quite simple, there's frequencies that they program in for testing purposes, although best thing to do reset so you get rid of them frequencies. You don't want their test frequencies, you want to do your own tests. One of the first things you'll want to do with this radio, or one of the first things I want to do, is to slow the menu down from switching off so I can actually take my time going through it. So in order to do that, press the menu button, then you can either press the up and down, or you can actually turn this dial to find the one you want, or you can actually press the number on the keypad. So the number I want is 39. So I'm going to go into that first. I want to press the up arrow to select 10 seconds menu, and that'll do me fine. One other thing that I actually found quite nice, it has Bluetooth. At the moment, it's switched off. So just turn the Bluetooth on and press the back button. And as you can see, at the top of the screen, it does actually show the Bluetooth icon. So let's just go over to the phone, and I'll show you what that's about. This is a program called Super Walkie Talkie. Not very imaginative, but basically you can download it for the Android without any problems. I don't know about the iPhone. They may add it to the iPhone at some point. Let's see if we can actually program a local repeater into the radio. I have to start by pressing connect. It's called a thing of walkie talkie, so let's connect to that one. And now read from the radio. There's actually nothing to read, so it shouldn't really take this long. The radio does say programming. It's read from the radio. Now, I'm not sure which way round these. Select the transmit. 145.65, the transmit frequency. And the receive frequency, you've actually got to type it in. So you've got to be exact here. It's minus 0.6, so that would make that 0.5. Okay. Now then, there's something, no tone. Where's the tone? Right. So to enter the tone, we're going to the global selection, select channel, transmit code is 82.5 for this one. Now I don't know if it requires the receive one. Let's make sure that we can only hear the repeater. We don't want to hear anyone else on that frequency. Okay. Now if we write that to the radio, down as channel 1, and the radio's just reset. We're in frequency mode. So we press P2 to go to channel mode. And there you can see is the one we've just programmed into it. So the Bluetooth is useful. And one thing to bear in mind, if the Bluetooth icon is showing, the GPS will not work. So you need to make sure it's not showing. If it is, go back into your menu to item 51 and turn it off. Right. In order to turn the GPS on, go back into the menu, just down by 1, press menu, turn it on. Now it says GPS at the top. Exit the menu, press the right button. There's nothing on the GPS locator at the moment because I've not got an antenna. The next screen will actually get your GPS location if you're outside and you have an antenna on. Okay, looking on the outside of the radio, obviously screen, but a very small speaker and a little microphone. This one's your menu, an OK button, your home button, and return to previous menu selection. You have P1, a P2, and your basic keyboard that you're all familiar with. On this side, you have a push to talk and 2 more programmable buttons. On the top, your antenna port is an SMA male, and right next to that is an orange button, which is your emergency call button. The next thing you'll notice is there's actually 2 controls on the top. This one is your on-off switch and volume, whereas this one is your frequency adjustment and menu item selector. So if you look on the back, you can see all your frequency ranges down here. Now, these are not all transmit frequencies. Some of these are receive only, like your airband. One thing a few people have noticed, this orange gasket around the 2 contacts for the battery, they do help towards making the radio splash proof. However, it is not waterproof. If you look at the battery, this section connects to the gasket, but we look on the back. You have your 2 connections for when you've actually got it in the charging caddy. Between them 2 connectors, you've got a USB-C connector, and this battery is not waterproof, but if you can charge it from the charging caddy or using the USB Type-C connector. And this light will actually show up when it's actually charging to indicate the charging status. If, like me, you like to add a lanyard to your radio just to make it a little bit more secure, you can attach it to the battery, but if you look at the back of this center button, there is a small hole there, so you can attach there as well. Now, I would actually prefer to attach to the radio, but you are looking at a small gap between this piece of plastic and the knob, so you're a bit limited for the space of actually getting the lanyard in. but it can be done. Some of you may have noticed the radio on the side has an input similar to the Baofeng. Do not plug your Baofeng programming cable into this radio. It will force it into transmit straight away. What you need to do is get yourself another cable from Radtel that looks basically the same. However, this one is configured for the radio. One other ideal function of this radio is the actual programming side. You don't have to go with the Radtel programming. You can actually download and program it from Chirp. So let's just switch to Chirp. Okay, before you can actually use Chirp, you have to download the correct module for it, which is currently a beta, and you have to load that module into Chirp. So let's open that. The screen's gone pink or red because it's a beta. However, we should be able to download from the radio. There's the RT-490. Okay, and it's reading it. This driver is in development and should be considered as experimental. It's a beta. You can see there on channel 1 is the one we actually programmed in from the phone. What I'm going to do is delete that. Now, the nice thing about Chirp is you've probably already created a code plug for your Baofeng. We can go to File and Import. Let's load in this one. Got the PMR446 on, but in this case, we're not allowed to transmit on PMR in the UK, not using this radio. Nothing stopping us from receiving, but we can't transmit. Just take them off there. There we have 16 channels, and we can just write them to the radio. Upload to radio. Just click OK. And the radio is displaying program. And now it's just resetting. Unplug the cable. All we have to do is press the P2 button and we're in channel mode. And now it actually switches through the channels that we've set. Now, before we finish with Chirp, plug the cable back in. We can now go into settings and go to bands right at the bottom. So I can literally set the frequencies that I have access to all within this. I don't know what the 350 meg range is, but I know the 200 is actually there for the American 220 band, which I don't have access to that one either. So I only have access to these first two. And if I go back to the foundation manual, I can find out what numbers to program in here. As it's only an FM transmitter, what I recommend you do is go to the RSGB's website to find out where the FM range of the band is, and make sure you also cover your repeaters. But for now, for the final test, I will want these two enabled for now. So I'm just going to write that to the radio. Okay. I'll close that down for now. One other thing I forgot to mention. I do like the fact it's a colour screen, rather reminiscent of a Yaesu. Oh, you've had the good, you've had the bad. Now it's time to do one final test with a tiny SA. This is just to show you, I do have a rather loud noise floor where I am. I'm going to do a quick test transmission into a dummy load on 145.375. Let's see what happens. And there you have it. Two peaks showing up above the noise floor. One around about the right frequency, 145.375. However, look over this side. This peak is the first harmonic of the frequency that's transmitting. Unfortunately, that means this radio is unusable in the UK, because even if I'm transmitting on UK legal frequencies, I'm also transmitting outside my legal frequencies, so I can't use it. Now, I don't know if every single one of these radios suffers the same problem. I do know the Abbree does. One of the other YouTubers did test using an oscilloscope that showed exactly the same results. The first harmonic is almost as strong as the primary signal, with the second harmonic dropping down. Unfortunately, there's nothing I know of that can solve this problem. Certainly not in a handheld. So, leaves me with nothing but a paperweight. In conclusion, there's a lot to like about this radio. The voice used, real nice.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
The colour screen is also nice. Very pleasant on the eyes. Being able to program it by Bluetooth from your mobile phone is excellent. It would be nice if you were able to program it from Repeaterbook direct, but just being able to program it from your mobile phone, it's a step in the right direction. The ability to program it from Chirp using your other code plugs from other radios, it's also excellent. GPS, although it doesn't have the ability to send it to anyone, it does give you your GPS coordinates so you can actually pass them on if you require emergency services. The gasket covering the battery connections is good, but I'd like to see a full rubber seal around it to make it a little bit more waterproof. The USB charging socket is also good, even though I would like to see a rubber seal covering that. The choice of where to attach a lanyard, whether to the radio or to the battery, is also good. One thing about the battery that I didn't mention, this battery clip, while it's spring-loaded, if you don't put it in all the way, it will actually pop out. In order to make sure the battery clip's actually all the way in, you've got to press it all the way down and make sure it clicks. Otherwise, when you put it on your radio, you'll think it's secure. The battery clip will stay on your belt while the radio ends up on the floor. The quad band, more useful in other countries than the UK. As in case America has bands that we don't. For me, I'd only lock out the extra bands. Your mode selector dial, as well as up and down or punching numbers in. This is also excellent. The main cover screen, you need to make sure it doesn't scratch as easy. I'm not sure if there's an alternative for the battery, perhaps a larger size available for like you get with some radios. Menu items clear to understand and follow along. It's extensive, which I personally think is good. 53 menu items, large memory storage for all your favourite frequencies. I did try the scan on it. It's a little bit slow, but acceptable. But the one thing you need to focus on with this radio is the way it broadcasts on the harmonics. It needs to be completely clean of the harmonic, so you're not transmitting out of band when you're transmitting on one frequency. You don't want to be transmitting across several frequencies that are potentially well outside the ham bands. All the other downsides to this radio, the scratchy screen not being as waterproof as one YouTuber mentioned, acceptable. 5-watt maximum on the output, 4 as I actually got from the meter. It's also acceptable. The sound quality is awesome. I've heard it on receive, and another YouTuber didn't actually run the test I just did, and did transmit and get some really excellent reports on his transmission audio. With everything that this radio can do, it's a pity that I have to say, do not buy this radio because you will be transmitting out of band with it. It's possible that one of the ones mentioned in the red box doesn't transmit out of band. I don't know which one. I also don't know which one is the original. I thought it was the Radtel due to the software being used, but it could also be the JJCC, because when you switch the screen on, it says JJCC. I've not been able to get an email address for JJCC, but I did send an email to Radtel a few weeks back asking them if they had the same problem with their radio. And as yet, I've still received no response from them. If and when I receive a response from them or any one of these companies saying that their radio doesn't do it and their radio can pass the test, be sure I'll put an update. So be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, do not buy any of these radios. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the air.